Alright, it is exactly 9 p.m. top of the hour and you're just right on time for KUTV Primetime News, the state of the nation. Indeed, it is a day that we have seen a lot of series of activities within one day. Demonstrations, to be precise, the anti-government protest against, many atrocities that they call an end to police brutality and corruption in that matter. So remember, this comes at the backdrop of so many demands from the Gen Z that government has met so far, from the sacking of 21 CS and of course to the resignation of Japheth Kome, the Inspector General of Police, to a call to form a national dialogue to discuss these grievances that many, the young generation, they call them the Gen Z, feels that things are not working in their favor. And of course, in spite of that, the demonstration continues. Same Tuesday with same agenda, and of course, to help us unpack that particular discussion, of course, we'll be talking to one of the protesters later on, just to give us a perspective of their demands, and of course, if there is an end to this demonstration, that and many more in our subsequent bulletin. But first thing first, our top stories tonight.
Tonight, another day, same mission. The anti-government protesters across the country took to the streets. Tear gas and running battles dictate the order of the day. Style up or park, but who? Ford Foundation denies Ruto's claim of funding anti-finance bill protests in the country. Also tonight, I was forced to confess. Kware murder suspect says he was tortured and molested to confess. Plus, slimming the budget. Treasury makes substantial cut to different ministries to keep government operation afloat.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Auma Evans.
Alright, John Opio is our sign language interpreter tonight. Remember, you can follow this broadcast on all of our social media platforms. We are coming to you live on YouTube at KUTV News. You can tweet us on X at KUTV_Kenya at Auma Evans. Remember to use the hashtag State of the Nation. So tonight we begin the State of the Nation with the latest chaos, looting, running battles, and shooting that saw K24 journalist caught in the shooting dictated the order of the day as the anti-government protesters across the country took to the streets demanding accountability over police brutality and an end to corruption. Our very own Pauline Dungu opens our bulletin tonight with a report.
As expected, hundreds of youths turned out in major cities across the country to oppose the ruling of the Kenya Kwanza administration. However, a cat and mouse chase erupted in various parts of the country as police officers tried to calm the protesters who turned out in large numbers. With the level of force used by police and the protesters during the demonstrations, the clash between police and protesters intensified. In the process, a K24 journalist, Catherine Wanjeri, who was covering the demonstrations in Nakuru, got shot at the thigh by the police and was admitted at a Valley Hospital. In Nairobi, the situation escalated when protesters entered the city center as they had organized on social media. In Kitengela area, roads were blocked with stones by protesters. Fortunately, the police managed to calm the situation. Unfortunately, in Kakamega town, police threw tear gas at students in Mwilaya Primary School, causing panic among the students. Elsewhere, In Baringo County, the demonstrations took a different turn as protesters gathered at the office of the area governor Benjamin Cheboy, forcing the governor to hide. The same situation of massive crowds was witnessed in Homa Bay County, Machakos County, and in Karatina Nyeri County, where youth burned tires and blocked major roads. A turn of events away from the Ruto must go chance. The protesters now demand clarity from the government concerning the unfortunate deaths that took place in Kware Dam site. Nevertheless, businesses were halted in most towns as shops remained closed to avert looting as witnessed in previous protests that were hijacked by goons. Ndongo Pauline, KUTV.
Right now, following the statement released by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, that saw protesters being invited to cooperate with the police to root out goons targeting to disrupt the peaceful Gen Z protests, youth in Kakamega and Kericho responded positively by doing up patrols and separate from police and confronting suspected goons, as Doris Chalo now reports.
With the ongoing protests in the country, hooligans have been spotted in the cities of Kakamega and Kericho armed with weapons, intending to disrupt the peaceful Gen Z protests. As anticipated, the incident is in line with the statement issued by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, through the National Police Service X account, acknowledging that they received credible intelligence indicating that certain organized groups had planned to infiltrate the peaceful nature of the demonstrations. In that regard, Kanja called on the protesters to cooperate with the police in ensuring that they peacefully demonstrate their constitutional rights. Fortunately, youths in Kericho and Kakamega counties responded in good faith as images of them patrolling the streets were seen circulating online. They confronted the hooligans who were trying to suppress the protests. With these successful efforts, these youths were seen rejoicing after the clubs held by the hooligans were confiscated by the police and later promised to proceed with protests peacefully. These collaboration efforts between the police and the public were considered to demonstrate wisdom and a model to emulate in advocating for country's goals through peace. Mwitanjambi, KUTV.
And now, Ford Foundation has distanced itself from Ruto's claim of funding anti-government protests in the country, following President William Ruto's damning allegations of infiltration of Kenyan protests by international bodies, including the Ford Foundation. As Munene Weru reports, the allegations has raised eyebrows across the country and beyond the borders.
The leaderless, partyless and fearless Gen Z revolution that has held the government at ransom for close to a month is now being claimed to actually have leaders, and according to President William Ruto, international bodies have a big hand in the current wave of demonstrations.
Wale ambao wanasponsor hiyo violence, sisi tunawajua. And I want to call out those who are behind the anarchy in Kenya. Those who are behind the sponsoring the chaos in the Republic of Kenya, shame on them, because they are sponsoring violence against our democratic nation.
President Ruto, while on a development tour to Nakuru yesterday, named Ford Foundation as the main financier of the protests.
Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani? We are going to call them out and we are going to tell them if they are not interested in democracy in Kenya, if they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
Ford outrightly rejected Ruto's claims, and according to the recent dispatch released by Ford, the organization is focused on empowering civil societies in the quest for democracy and social justice. And while Ford Foundation has a history of supporting local entities such as the Law Society of Kenya and Amnesty International, it remains unclear whether the organization has made direct contributions towards facilitating revolt against Ruto. However, the bigger ask is how Ford could bear the blame for financing protests, while it has been massively involved in government initiatives. Ford has confirmed it played a critical role in setting up the Africa Climate Summit, in which Ruto was the host. Months later, the foundation happened to meet with President Ruto during his state visit to the US, and as late as February this year, the foundation met with Chief Justice Martha Koome to deliberate on matters social justice. Questions are emerging on what truly transpired between the president and Ford that turned the two from the once close buddies to distant foes. Or is it an incompetence in intelligence that the deputy president frowned upon moments after the onset of protests?
It is clear there has been a failure in the intelligence and advice we are receiving, particularly concerning crucial government policies.
Muneneweru, KUTV.
Right, now from the dropping of the controversial finance bill of 2024 to the sacking of all cabinet secretaries except the prime cabinet secretary, followed by the resignation of police IG Japheth Koome, to calls for a national dialogue. What else do Gen Z want? What's the agenda, and why not the dialogue? Three critical questions that we hope to get answers. And joining us in this discussion is Kennedy Sankara, a Gen Z protester. And of course, Sankara, asante sana for making time.
Thank you, Evans, for having me this evening. It's a pleasure being here after a rigorous day in town.
All right, so let's pick it from there, Sankara. Well, you have seen the latest development in the country, of course, and we'll begin by the main reason why this particular protest was called for. One was protest against the finance bill of 2024. Well, that we saw it. The president dropped, of course, together with the members of parliament. Then we came to the resignations of Inspector General of Police after public pressure. And of course, eventually that followed with the sacking of 21 cabinet secretary. Now the question that begs, what else do the young people want? What does the Gen Z want in regard to this?
Thank you very much, Evans. The resignation of the former Inspector General of Police is not enough. Actually, we did not protest for the IG to resign. We wanted to hear news like the former IG has been processed, has been arrested, and is being processed for criminal charges around human rights violation and etc. We are in the streets because we believe Parliament is not independent. We are in the street because we want more institutional reforms. We want institutions like Parliament to be dissolved so that we can go for fresh elections. We have seen a Parliament that has sold its bosses because pursuant to the various provisions of our 2010 Constitution, the legislature has three constitutional responsibilities. Number one is oversight, representation, and legislation. The moment dubious laws are made in Parliament, bad laws are not laws. Parliament has failed. The moment a Parliament can be summoned by the executive, which is a core arm of government, and operates in its direction, that is the usurpation of the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. So going forward, we have a lot of things to be addressed. The finance bill, those who think that we were to call off protest because finance bill fell, let me remind them that finance bill was just an tip of the iceberg. It was just a trigger. The real issues, it is the arrogance and the opulence manifested by the ruling class at the expense of a suffering population that really pushed the people of Kenya to the roads, because these people showed us that they lived well while the people of Kenya lived worse. They were even very loud and confident that regardless of your position, we are going to pass this thing. So we really want to see Parliament dissolved. We not only want to see the president firing people. Why would the president dissolve constitutional offices to retain unconstitutional office? I mean, what is the constitutional the job description of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary? If there were things to be done, the office of the PMC would have been dissolved and disbanded long time ago. But we want to hear those advisors of the president, the economic advisors, people like David Ndii, being fired, not the advisors being reduced by 50. We don't even know who the 50 are, the 50%. So there are a lot of things. The appropriation bill was assented to. The appropriation bill has got the actual estimates of government expenditure.
All right.
The president is still insisting that he's going to borrow more.
Okay.
While we were in the streets to fight against debt financing strategies, which is against economic progress of the country.
Fair enough, Sankara. Fair enough.
That are yet to be addressed.
All right, Sankara. But, some will say this is a case of give and take. At one hand, you want the president to implement some of your demands. And now the president is calling you, the young people on the table, to come out and at least partake the national dialogue, present your issues. Don't you think that forum would have been a good forum for the young people, the Gen Zs, to actually present, their grievances and their demands to the government and some of the areas that they think or they want the government to work on? Don't you think that would have been a good avenue for the Gen Zs to actually, present some of their demands and even recommendations that they want to see going forward, the way you are just clearly putting it right now?
We don't need to negotiate with President William Ruto to implement the Constitution. That is wrong. We want the rule of law to be respected. The presidency has led in straight record violation of the Constitution. We have seen the police extrajudicial killings that no one has been apprehended. We had the former CS Interior, who is a potential criminal, talking like those lives lost were like nothing to him, and something will be done about the police who did take part in those killings. But we don't see actions. When citizens go to the streets, the police are very ready to warn us that we are watching you. But when citizens are being butchered in the streets, no one cares. I believe that the highest constitutional responsibility bestowed upon the President of the Republic of Kenya upon his inauguration as the President of the Republic was to protect and preserve the lives of the people of Kenya. No single life should be lost under unjustifiable circumstances. What we've seen is tantamount to massacre. We want people to be accountable. So how is it that the President is calling for a dialogue while let me call them foot soldiers, are still continuing with eliminations? We have seen violent abductions, torture, people being held in comunicado. All this amounts to gross constitutional violation. The president stands very solid grounds to be impeached if the parliament was a functional parliament.
All right.
But because the parliament has been abducted, we are now trying to resuscitate the powers of parliament.
Okay.
But because there are a lot of injustices have been continued, we don't need a dialogue. And let me remind you as I finish on this dialogue, that we don't need to dialogue for the rule of law to be respected. There is nothing new we are going to tell this government that they haven't heard from us. When he was campaigning as the head of state or a presidential candidate, President William Ruto worked in all the 45 counties with the bottom-up economic agenda, regional economic blocs. He knows exactly what we are talking about. We don't want people to go and get bought by the power of brown envelope. We can speak collectively, because once things are better, all Kenyans can survive. We don't need people to be given handouts for people to survive. So there is no room for dialogue.
Okay. So for accountability, it will be unfair to say that the government is doing nothing. I remember President William Ruto promised that there will be a thorough investigation, and those found culpable will face the full force of the law. So it's just a matter of time to wait and see what will actually happen in regard to these brutal killings and, of course, abduction that we have seen and witnessed across the country. So that is what the president said. So it will be unfair for him of course,
Evans,
to say that they're not doing anything as of now.
Evans, I wish I had my laptop with you. I would have given you the long list of President William Ruto's promises. Even the promise to expedite investigations into the heinous murder of citizens falls under one of the most unaccomplished promises. So these promises, they continue piling up daily. And I can tell you that draws the line between a leader and a politician. A politician's head is soaked in promises, promising even at the face of adversity. The president himself called the entire demonstrations as violent, treasonous, and criminals. I believe he would have withdrawn his statement, apologized, and acknowledged the diversity of protests, that there are instances where criminal gangs, when the police decide to sleep, hijack the entire process to entrench their criminal activity. But it is very wrong for someone in this position of a president to refer to somebody like myself, a patriot who goes to the streets to enjoy the provisions of Article 37, to be a dangerous, treasonous criminal. I think that was a very gross misconduct, and the president ought to have apologized. So on the promise of the president doing this and that, it's neither here nor there.
All
the
right.
president said that those who access parliament, they have CCTV and they have their images and they will be dealt with. What has succeeded that is violent abductions, people being found dead with dangerously mutilated bodies. Is that how to deal with criminals? I believe everyone is innocent until proven guilty by a court of law.
Okay.
And that court must be competent and just and fair. So these people ought to have been arrested and processed for legal repercussions and not eliminated aimlessly. Parliament is our building. We are the ones financing the parliament to stay. What is wrong with us just visiting parliament to say hi to our MPs, who are our leaders, whom we are elected to represent?
But Sankara, you know, there is some restricted areas that you should not cross, and of course that in as much as the law, you have the freedom of expression, association, and everything, but there is some restricted areas, and you know that, Sankara. And far from that, now that this is another wave of protest occasion, and of course witnessed today, and your demands, you're saying that you're not ceding ground. So the question will be, so what next? What is the end game? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, so what is next, Sankara? For how long will you continue to demonstrate?
We are less in all aspects, except it is wrong to be concluded rudderless. We are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are religiously, we are less. But I don't want to preempt on behalf of Gen Zs, because let me tell you something, Evans. Giving you the end game is like claiming to be the leader of Gen Zs, which I'm not. I am a participant, a protester, and a patriotic citizen. You know what takes people to the streets? I heard the president blaming Ford for financing the demos. I saw a picture today in the morning of a police vehicle, GKB something, Ford, with goons also standing beside the police. Then I believed indeed that Ford is financing the protest. So I was telling you, the end game is quite difficult to preempt, because we want good leadership. The president has done something, but that is just a drop in the ocean. We want the president to take responsibility individually. This side shows of blame games. He started blaming Uhuru Kenyatta. He went to Raila Odinga. He went to civil society. Now he's back to Ford Kenya. Very soon he will start blaming the previous cabinet. So I was to respond by saying that whatever it is that takes people to the streets are so organic. People have unique problems that to some extent sound to be equal. And this is what mobilizes people to go to the streets. So not unless they feel satisfied, the journey to remain in the streets is still unstoppable.
All right, and sorry to cut you short, but you must surely have a plan, because, all right, then you'll go to the street. Then what next? Because I believe you must have a plan. So what is the plan? Mm-hmm.
The plan that we have is the plan that President launched at Nyayo Stadium. No, not Nyayo, but at Kasarani.
Mm-hmm.
That plan, smeared with respect to the Constitution and the rule of law, we have a better country.
Okay.
He has said a lot of things, better said than done. Today, as we speak, as Kennedy Sankara, my parent cannot access medical services under NHIF because of financial issues. Yet, I have paid. The president came up with an constitutional bill, the Public Health, SHIF, the Public Health Act, those three statutories or statutes that were expunged by the court, the High Court in the recent judgment. You cannot overhaul systems. The president is behaving like Kenya got independence yesterday and is trying to create his own system.
All right.
What I believe, we can see loopholes in the existing systems. If at all, we can do amendment of those acts, let's say the NHIF Act, so that we have service delivery to the people and efforts of thieves also being sealed here and there.
Okay.
You cannot overhaul the entire system just because you want to become a super president. The president has been concerned over non-issues. He is, in the NATO issues. He's in the Russian. He blamed Russians the other day. It is high time the president recognizes that whatever it is that is financing this protest is unfulfilled promises, is the arrogance and chest thumping from the executive all the way to parliament, and its functional judiciary that has made judgments in bits and in favors when it is necessary.
All right.
So
and
all these institutional loopholes is what pushes the people to the streets.
Fair enough. And you've spoke about about the financing, and of course there is a concern from the head of state who says organizations like the Ford Foundation are the ones who are supporting or rather sponsoring the anti-finance bill protest against the government. And now the question is, who is sponsoring you, the Gen Zs on the streets?
Personally, I would want to know who the sponsor is so that I go for my money. But because I've been in the streets passionately, as a young father and as a patriotic citizen, I believe there are, let me call them commercial activists who have been here. You've seen them. I have gone publicly to demand to know the position of Boniface Mwangi in whatever it is that we are doing, because we understand there are people who are running sideshows events in our quest for a just and fair country. But regardless, we have decided as a people to ignore them because we believe at the end of the day we are leaderless. The reason as to why we are saying we are leaderless is not because we are rudderless or clueless. We are saying we are leaderless because we know how these events are usually hijacked by powers from above. If today the government realizes Kennedy Sankara is the leader, they will come for me, they will buy me or forcefully disappear me so that the movement scatters. But this is a very beautiful thing. You abduct Sankara and disappear him today. Tomorrow you'll just see people in the streets. You kill Sankara today, people will just be in the streets. So it is high time the president does a soul search, to understand what is it that the people want. Have I really done my best in my capacity? Unfortunately, he's still going ahead to promise a lot of things to join the list of the unfulfilled promises that he gave. So I believe we as a people, we have genuine reasons to be in the streets. We have personal issues that is taking us to the streets. And by the way, these people can demonstrate all the way to 2047. They don't have jobs. So by virtue of not having jobs, we'll just wake up and go to the street.
All right.
So that tells you the institutional failures that needs to be adjusted. We cannot adjust this when manufacturers are still being unfairly targeted with taxation.
Okay.
You want to tax manufacturers, even ab initio. You want to tax raw materials. How are we going to produce. Not unless we turn Kenya into a producer economy and mass exporter and not mass importer, we will still have unemployment challenges. Some of the people in government claim that tribalism, corruption are not new cases. We are not going to condone them just because they've been there, so you don't have to expand them. And we know all these cases have expanded under the regime of Kenya Kwanza.
Fair enough.
Tribalism.
Fair enough.
Parastatal is filled with one community.
All right, thank you.
Other Kenyans are incompetent. No.
All right, thank you, Kennedy Sankara, a Gen Z protester, of course, for shedding light on the cause and, of course, the mission and how the future of this protest will look like, or rather looks like. And of course, that is where we end this discussion. Once again, asante sana, Kennedy, for making time.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's meet next week on Tuesday or Thursday. As the timetables go.
All right, so we take a very short break here on KUTV State of the Nation. And of course, remember, plenty more to follow after the break.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Ewa Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Courageous warriors of endometriosis are sharing their stories of challenges and triumph. They went through nightmares.
It's been a climb. It's been a mountain climb.
I was shocked. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what this meant. I'd read about it in the textbook.
Later experienced in their lives.
But the textbooks don't prepare you for the human experience of that led to a diagnosis.
And
when I went to the hospital, they had tests done on that, a biopsy, and from that is when they diagnosed that I had endometriosis.
Now, 1 out of 10 women of productive age in Kenya has endometriosis. The pain that comes with it.
I used to have terrible, horrible cramps.
The stigma.
Some of my friends in school, telling me, this was just me trying to make an excuse.
Yet the cause of this painful and chronic disease remains unknown. Join me, Kipto Hilda, as I share the stories of resilience and hope following the trails of women who have battled endometriosis.
Kenyatta University will hold its 55th graduation ceremony on Friday, 19th July 2024 at the main campus along the Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV and KU website, Lola app and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. The theme for the graduation ceremony is Education for Prosperity and Sustainable Development. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Auma Evans.
Right, welcome back and thank you for choosing to stay with us. Now let's continue to inform you. Collins Jumaisi Halisia, the infamous prime suspect connected to the case of the bodies disposed at Kware dump site in the Mkuru Kwajenga slums, has been arraigned, or rather was arraigned in court today. The suspect denied his initial confession, claiming he was tortured and molested by police, forcing him to admit to the killings. KUTV's Natalia Kioko unraveled the Kware murder drama as it unfolds in a court of law.
The main suspect behind the Kware dump site case, Collins Jumaisi, has today been arraigned in court. The case, which is being handled at Madaraka Law Courts, was initially presented at Kiambu Law Courts before Senior Principal Magistrate Peter Ooko declined handling the case, arguing that the incidents took place in Embakasi. The 33-year-old suspect initially confessed to murdering 42 women, with his wife being the first victim. However, Jumaisi claimed he was innocent today, telling the court that he only confessed to the crimes as a result of the immense torture he underwent in police custody. The suspect was arrested in Kayole and led police to the scene of the crime, where various pieces of evidence were collected, including a machete believed to be the murder weapon. Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odwar, after examining one of the bodies, revealed that the victim was mutilated using a sharp object, potentially causing them to succumb to excessive bleeding. The public awaits more updates as the chilling case of Jumaisi unfolds. So far, the court has allowed the detention of Jumaisi for a period of 30 days pending investigations. Natalie Kioko, KUTV.
And now switching gears, Africa is ranked to be the third highest region recording death cases caused by road accidents. This is according to a report issued during the annual World Health Organization Road Safety Status Report launch. The report reveals staggering statistics on global road safety, highlighting both progress and continued challenges in reducing road traffic deaths and injuries worldwide. The story was produced by our very own Abdi Samed Mahmoud.
Gentlemen, for us, we're going to give a countdown. There'll be a countdown clock.
At the Serena Hotel, the annual World Health Organization's Road Safety Status Report was launched, showing a slight decrease in road traffic deaths worldwide.
So much WR4.
Nevertheless, road accidents remain the leading killer of children and youths aged between 5 and 29 years, and the 12th leading cause of death across all ages. Motorcyclists and other powered 2- and 3-wheeler riders represent 30% of global road traffic deaths, while 4-wheeled vehicles occupant make up 25%, pedestrians accounting for 21% of fatalities, and cyclists for 5%. The report highlights that 92% of road traffic deaths occur in low and middle income countries, with the risk of death 3 times higher in low-income countries compared to high-income countries. Despite having less than 1% of all motor vehicles, these countries bear a disproportionate burden of road traffic deaths and injuries, implying a need for urgent intervention.
Are you ready? All right.
As a leading cause of death and a major contributor to disability, road traffic injuries also impose an enormous economic cost on societies, estimated to be between 1 and 3% of gross domestic product (GDP). The highest number of deaths occur in the Southeast Asia region, accounting for 28% of global deaths, followed by the Western Pacific region with 25% and the African region with 19%. Brian Auma, KUTV.
And now, following the intense pressure and critics on finance bill that led to its withdrawal, Treasury has made substantial cuts to President William Ruto's ambitious debt plan. The strategic move rather is intended to ensure that proper management of the country's economic stability. As Jael Nyabuto reports, the original debt plan that sought significant borrowing to fund various development projects has now been scaled down.
Following the withdrawal of the finance bill, the National Treasury has made substantial cuts to Ruto's debt plan and now targets to borrow about 652 billion shillings for the financial year 2024-2025 from the intended 1 trillion. On July 5th, President William Ruto indicated that the borrowing was expected to increase by 169.7 billion shillings to cater for the revenue fall by trimming the overall 2024-2025 spending by 177 billion shillings. The government has missed the budget cuts for the financial year 2024-2025 by 55.2 billion shillings, with the budget showing the total spending for the year 2025 between July and June downgraded to 3.87 trillion shillings, 121.9 billion shillings, lower than the approved parliamentary figure at the end of 2023-2024. However, the budget cuts as proposed by the Treasury have impacted the State Department of Energy by slashing its allocation by 18.5 billion shillings to 51.1 billion shillings. The State Department of Roads is also affected as its expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 is downgraded by 14.5 billion shillings to 184.8 billion shillings as the government aims to reduce the new projects in the road sector. Also, the winners in the supplementary budget, including the county governments and the Department of Cooperatives with the proposed allocation of equitable shares, has been raised from 400.1 billion shillings to the proposed 410.9 billion shillings and 1.98 billion shillings respectively, as the Department of Arid and Semi-Arid Lands targets a 2.91 billion shillings increase. Emma Mwangi, KUTV.
Now switching gears to Rwanda's election. Rwandan President Paul Kagame is set to extend his 24-year rule by another 5 years after provincial results showed him winning more than 99% of the votes. Kagame's predicted win comes at a time when the right group accuse him of curtailing freedom since taking office, while his supporters say he has presided over economic growth and helped end ethnic divisions.
Paul Kagame is a happy man, one set to secure the Rwandan presidency for the fourth consecutive term after winning 99% of the about 9 million votes cast in Rwanda. With the final results due by July 27, Kagame, in an address from the headquarters of his ruling party, Rwandan Patriotic Front, thanked the Rwandese people for giving him a fourth term, indicating that the overwhelming support, according to him, was a sign of trust and good governance. Kagame's re-election has, however, been characterized by a fair share of criticism from human rights groups who accuse the 66-year-old head of state of not allowing any real opposition and ruthlessly targeting his critics even outside the country.
It's like I committed an offense, accepting to be president. Every day I'm being asked, when are you leaving? When are you going? So, these people who made me president are telling me they still want me to be president. Somebody somewhere says, no, you are here too long. But these guys who even ask these questions or who tell me that, even if they wanted, they cannot be the president of Rwanda.
In this round of election, Kagame faced only two contenders who are authorized to run, that is, Frank Habineza of the Democratic Green Party and independent candidate Philippe Mpayimana. Multiple sources indicate that other candidates like Diane Rwigara, an outspoken critic of Mr. Kagame, were barred from contesting by the state-run Electoral Commission. Kagame has amassed 99% of the vote so far, with his two opponents sharing the remaining 1% of the vote. With these elections being manned by 1,000 observers, both international and national, the electorate in Rwanda maintained that they'd seen progress and voted for that to continue. Critics, however, opine that one reason Kagame cruised to victory was that he has governed with a heavy hand and has stifled dissent, but analysts, on the other hand, applauded his ability to guide the East African country towards internal peace and economic prosperity since the 1994 genocide. Theo Masharia for KUTV News.
Now, the motive behind a 20-year-old gunman's attempt on the life of Donald Trump remain a mystery 2 days later, with the suspect having been shot dead and the FBI unable to identify an ideology that may have driven him to attack the former president. Reuters' Zachary Coleman produced this report.
FBI agents were spotted on Monday at the home of the 20-year-old attempted assassin who opened fire on a Donald Trump rally over the weekend. The suspect, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was killed by Secret Service sharpshooters, and the FBI says the motive behind the gunman's attempt on the life of Donald Trump remains a mystery. Officials said Crooks was able to slip onto a rooftop location 150 yards from the stage where Trump was speaking in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday. Police said he then began firing an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle purchased by his father. The bullets killed a 50-year-old man, critically wounded 2 other spectators, and struck Trump's ear. The officials said a suspicious device was found in the suspect's vehicle, which was inspected by bomb technicians and rendered safe. A resident of Bethel Park, about an hour away from where the shooting occurred, Crooks was a registered Republican who would have been eligible to cast his first presidential vote in the November 5th election. Public records also show that as a 17-year-old, Crooks made a $15 donation to a Democratic Party cause. Crooks was employed as a dietary aide at a nursing home at the time of the shooting. In a statement, the nursing home administrator said, quote, "We are shocked and saddened to learn of his involvement, as Thomas Matthew Crooks performed his job without concern and his background check was clean."
Thomas Crooks.
2 years ago, Crooks graduated from the local high school. One classmate who asked not to be identified said he showed no particular interest in politics, and his interests centered on building computers and playing games. The classmate told Reuters, quote, "Nothing crazy ever came up in any conversation." A retired high school counselor recalled Crooks had always been, quote, "quiet as a church mouse, respectful, and kept to himself, although he did have a few friends." The counselor said Crooks was content to occasionally eat lunch by himself in the school cafeteria, and that he couldn't recall Crooks ever being disciplined in school.
Okay, so we are taking yet another very short break here on the State of the Nation. Of course, we'll be back with sports news.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called the Security Breach Detector and Can Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosives.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo Jumatatu
Kenyatta University will hold its 55th graduation ceremony on Friday, 19th July 2024 at the main campus along the Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV and KU website, Lola app and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. The theme for the graduation ceremony is Education for Prosperity and Sustainable Development. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Right, it's time to get the latest in the world of sports. Now, the national rugby 15-a-side team, Kenya Simbas, is set to leave the country on Thursday for the African Tour 15-a-side Rugby Championship in Uganda. The Simbas are set to face Senegal on July 20th, with the winner of the clash advancing to the semis, where they will face the player and the winner of the Algeria vs Cote d'Ivoire quarterfinals on July 24th. Kenya Rugby Union Chairman Sasha Mutai highlighted the importance of the Simbas' participation in the tournament, as it will improve their ranking and give the team a chance to qualify for the next year's World Cup. Now, the Tennis Kenya has released the 2024 Kenya Open Championship calendar ahead of their highly anticipated tournament set for the 3rd and 4th of August 2024 at Nairobi Sports Club. The first round of the tournament will begin with the qualifying draws on 3rd and 4th August before the main draw on the 5th and 11th of the same month, which will include different categories including men and women singles and doubles, mixed double for players age 14 and above, and wheelchair singles and doubles, and veteran doubles for the players above 40 years. And England national team head coach Gareth Southgate has called it a quit as England coach after defeat to Spain in the European Cup final. Southgate has led the England team for a period of 8 years and helped England reach 2 finals of the European Cup and the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2018. This defeat against Spain puts England in the history books as the first team to lose the European Championship finals twice in a row, with Southgate only the coach to ever lose 2 finals by a bit. Right, it's a wrap, and many thanks for the men and women behind the scene and for all those who made this production a success, and of course for you, our esteemed viewers, for always keeping us a company in the last 50 minutes or so. My good name is Auma Evans. John Opio has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Until next time, do have a lovely night and God bless Kenya.